This is David Ellis again, and I'm back with Amir Jahangiri with a very important episode for you guys. Today, we are going to be discussing the left-hand path. We are going to be discussing possession. We're going to be discussing conjuring and such like. So many of you are magicians. They're light workers, and then they're magicians, and then they're sorcerers, and then they're conjurers. And people use these words interchangeably, and we want to make a few distinctions, first of all. And right off the bat, we're going to say, if you are particularly religious, there's a trigger warning here. We are going to be showing you some stuff, and we're going to be asking you to comment in the comment section below and let us know what you think. I'm here with Amir, and Amir, let's hear what you have to say about the left-hand path before we even begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. I'm really delighted that you're here with us. So we're going to look at the subject of the left-hand path, beings of quote-unquote darkness, for example, demons. What are the differences between the left-hand path and the right-hand path? Is every left-hand path practitioner evil? And is every practitioner of the right-hand path good? Most certainly not. So let's have a look into some basic definitions, examine the validity of these definitions, see how they stand in the light, if they can hold form or do they disintegrate.
I love that pun. See if they stand in the light. That was a good one. First of all, I want to make a few definitions before we begin. Left-hand path practitioners are practitioners that are involved in black magic, what we term as black magic. Now, I'm not sure where the color definition comes into play, but what it is magic for destructive or negative ends. Here's the problem that we always have with terms like these. Magic that is used for destructive or negative ends doesn't always end badly. Magic that is used for good and positive ends doesn't always end in a good way. So if you are a beginner and you are into magic and you're into spell casting and stuff like that, what will happen is that you will take these hardline perspectives. You will say left-hand path bad, right-hand path good, until you decide that you are doing Reiki on somebody with stage 4 cancer, which is something that they don't tell you, not necessarily the most advised route to take. Okay, and so the road to hell is always paved with good intentions. Okay, and sometimes your worst enemy can be your best friend. And so when we're going to be examining these things, so we're going to be sharing our screen during this entire broadcast to show you what exactly we're talking about. And what I want you guys to do is to pay attention, because here's the thing. When you make value judgments about certain paths, you have to take into consideration your scope of knowledge about that path. It is easy to say left-hand path practitioners are bad people, but are they really? Because one thing I do know from all my readings in metaphysics, all my journeys, all the people that I've met, is that the world is a mixed bag. Okay? Not everyone is completely evil. Not everyone is completely good, no matter how much light they're spreading all over the place. And so what we want to do today is get through that. In terms of definitions, is there anything you would like to share with the audience, Amir?
Honestly, as you said, it's a mixed bag. These set in stone zeros and ones are often problematic. I haven't come across any person or being that is all the way this or all the way that.
Mm-hmm.
And also the thing is that, like any relationship, the way people behave towards each other changes depending on how they're treated. Mm-hmm. This is also true for entities, whether they're angels or demons.
Mm-hmm.
So these set in stone definitions are very, very faulty and dangerous.
Correct.
You may be treated harshly by an angel, yet compassionately by a demon. So it really depends on that individual case. It has to be examined for what it is, the character of the individual.
I have to say something here. Now, the first thing we're going to start with is the concept of demons, first of all. Okay? So I'm going to say that all the stories that we've heard of demons, popular stories, Mephistopheles being one of them in Faust, you have to go interfering with them for shit to happen. You have to let them in. They may be malevolent towards the human race, so were the jinn. For those of you who don't know who the jinn were, genies, they were evil creatures. They weren't like cool, cute looking creatures that came out of a lamp and granted you wishes. The only reason they granted you wishes so that you could destroy yourself. Okay? So when you're talking about beings and giving them a particular value judgment, you have to be very careful. So all the stories we have of demons are people trying to conjure things and going promptly very, very mad. My question is, why are you going there? If you watch popular culture and you watch television, demonic possession, the individual actually lets that entity in through despair, depression, and stuff like that. So I will have to say that demonic possession is very much a real thing. There have been a lot of times when, if the Catholic Church still recognizes that demonic possession is a real thing, they actually have a requirement chart for them to say that that person is demonically possessed as opposed to schizophrenic or whatever else. But there are a lot of people suffering in mental asylums because they went dabbling. And if you're going to go dabbling, and you know, here's the worst thing about it. Most of the information used to be locked up. You couldn't get that information. But in the world that we live in the internet, anybody can get any kind of information. And normally speaking, it doesn't work. They will go, they'll draw their magister, whatever else. They will try to conjure up a demon and nothing happens. And then you get that odd time when they actually do something correctly. And they're not strong enough.
Exactly right. Yes.
And then they end up in a mental institution. So is that person a left-hand path practitioner? Do you blame the demon or do you blame the dabbler? These are the questions that I have to ask myself. And then there are people who are purely evil, who do black magic specifically to spite people, and they're mercenaries for hire who you go to put spells on people. And some of the times, most of the times, it's not even spell. They are very much versed in the art of very different kinds of poisonings. They're master poisoners. So I don't know what to say with regard to that. When you meet a left-hand path practitioner, and I have met many left-hand path practitioners, and because I am polite, I have manners and so on, they treat me with courtesy, and I treat them with courtesy, which is a good policy to have when you're dealing with somebody who spends a lot of time doing black magic. It's just good policy to have. Amir, we're going to start that discussion about demons, but I'll let you chime in.
Just before we start the video, you mentioned courtesy and manners. It's not just a good policy when dealing with people, it's a good policy when dealing with entities.
You wouldn't go to an assassin and tell him, hey, you asshole, I don't like you. You wouldn't do that, right?
So no matter, again, no matter what the entity is, it takes a reflection of the conjurer or the practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
If that reflection is clean and pure, respectful and dignified, what is reflected back is in alignment with that.
Correct.
If you're going around, messing around, playing around, not knowing what you're doing, all you're going to receive is chaos. And this is true for angels and demons. Both
Correct.
sides, you know?
Before we even cut away to the video, I just want to say that there are a lot of people trying to invoke angels. Why would you be doing that? I don't understand. Like, seriously, just so that we're clear, demons were angels before you call them demons, okay? Before they went south for the winter, okay? So why would you want to do that? I mean, the Catholic Church used to be selling those candles to invoke Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Metatron. Don't be invoking invisible beings, okay? Don't do that, right? In Hinduism, they're invoking Ma Kali and so on. Dangerous entity,
Oh, yes.
dangerous entity. Okay, you invoke Kali when you want shit done, the hard way,
And
the really hard way.
The shit that gets done begins with you. You're the first piece of shit going in the blender, and then goes the rest of shit, you know? So
And
if
so,
you're not prepared for being blended, if you don't have the strength or fortitude, please avoid these kind of things.
yes, absolutely. Don't start shit, and there won't be any shit. Okay, so
Exactly.
we're gonna cut away to the video, and we're gonna see.
Imagine this. It's Halloween night. The moon is full, tricks are being given, and treats are being eaten. Because you're an adult, you didn't trick or treat, and you weren't invited to any parties. So instead, you decided to call your friends over for some Halloween fun. One friend brings his Ouija board. With nothing better to do, you and your friends attempt to contact the other side. The only problem? You were successful. Demons. Those unholy spirits straight from the depths of hell, ready to torture you for all of eternity. What if I were to tell you that demons aren't hell's maintenance staff? According to the Bible, demons were once angels. But before we get into that, we have to understand where the idea of demons comes from. The concepts of spirits, whether good or bad, is a universal one shared by many cultures. In regards to the word demon, it is derived from the Greek word daimon. What's interesting about this Greek root is that the word daimon does not carry any negative connotations, unlike the word demon. It simply indicates a spiritual being. It wasn't until much later during the rise of the church that the term evolved and branched out into Christianity, to which the term was associated with malevolent spirits. But the question still stands. According to Christian faith, were demons once angels? And if so, what happened? The Bible states in the book of Revelation that Satan, once an angel himself, envied the glory of God. Because angels were created with free will, he was able to convince many of them to join his heavenly rebellion. Long story short, it did go well. Here's what the Bible says about the failed rebellion. The book of Revelation says, and I quote, "Then there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. And the dragon lost the battle, and he and his angels were forced out of heaven. The great dragon and the ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, the one deceiving the whole world, was thrown down to the earth with all of his angels." Unlike the angels and the other heavenly beings, demons have no physical description in the Bible. Though their physical appearances aren't described, their negative abilities and influences on other beings have been. The most well-known ability being possession. Throughout history, the idea of spirit taking control of a living being has been incorporated in legend, faiths, and media. According to the Christian faith, the notable account of demonic possession is written in the Bible. According to the book of Mark, Jesus encountered a demon-possessed man. Verses 1 through 20 says the following of this account, and I quote, "When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell to his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, 'What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me.' For Jesus had said to him, 'Come out of this man, you impure spirit.' Then Jesus asked him, 'What is your name?' 'My name is Legion,' he replied, 'for we are many.' And he begged Jesus again and again not to send him out of the area. Demonic possession affects an individual not only on the spiritual level, but also on a physical and mental level as well. The passage states that the man was bound in chains, hand and foot, yet he was able to shatter them. The passage also implies that demonic possession caused him to harm himself using stones to cut his skin. To make things worse, this man was possessed not by one, not two, but a legion of demons. You may be wondering how many are in a legion. According to historians, a legion consists of 4,000 to 6,000 men. That's a lot of demons in one man. Whether you believe in demons or not, the idea of these malevolent beings can send chills down your spine, and they're certainly not something we would want to run into.
Okay, so what have we learned here? We've learned that even in biblical times, demons did exist. The account of Jesus casting he didn't finish that story. So I'm going to tell you what the end of that story is. Jesus asked Legion to leave the man, and Legion are a band of demons that took possession of this individual. And here's the thing, Amir, that goes badly. He takes the unclean spirits, he puts them into pigs, and then drives the pigs off of a cliff. Look, I couldn't be an animal in the Old Testament. No, you're getting sacrificed, you're getting demonically possessed, you're getting driven off a cliff. I couldn't be an animal in the Old Testament. I don't, help me out here.
And that's if you're lucky, David, because otherwise you're going to get barbecued.
Correct. Yeah, you're going to get barbecued. So here's the thing. We don't know what the precursor, the pre-story to Legion being possessed is. But we do know that Legion recognized Christ in that story as an ascended master, yeah, and approached Christ in that manner. And we do know that he asked Christ not to torture him, which is very odd to me.
Exactly. That's why it's like Jesus wasn't known for torturing people. Why would he make an exception?
Yeah, so if anybody has any ideas about this, please put it in the comments below, because this is part of we want to learn from you guys. So if you have any comments about it, put it in the comments below. So I think that the story demonstrates what we're talking about. Now, it is untrue to say that we don't have an idea of what demons looked like, because Revelation certainly describes in full living color what demons look like. And since that time, we have people like Aleister Crowley, McGregor Mathers, right? Jacob Boehm, and all Martinez Pasquales, who were avid conjurers. Let's do some definitions there. Conjuring is creating space to invoke entities that exist in other realms. Okay, very dangerous practice if you don't know what you're doing, because in the best case scenario, nothing will happen. No one will hear you, nothing will answer you. In the worst case scenario, something will happen, and then you're going to have to deal with it. So conjuring done safely is usually done inside what we call a magister. The witches call it a circle. Okay. It's a protected area where these beings cannot come into or enter in any way without your permission. And what they normally do is they have a circle and a triangle, and they conjure the entity in that circle. Okay. And so, honestly, these rituals are not necessary. If you wanted to affect something in the real world, use your powers of manifestation that are innate within yourself. We call that sorcery. We call that magic. Using conjuring as a practice to manifest certain things is akin to taking your transistor radio, climbing an electrical pole, and sticking the plug directly into the transformer. You don't need it. You don't need it. Use your powers of manifestation. So, Amir, I don't know. With regard to the concept of conjuring, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, basically, it's there are many methods. So the method that would use a protective circle That circle is a representation of the conjurer or the sorcerer's will to create a protective boundary. The two-dimensional circle has no meaning in 3D, 4D, or 5D space. It's the intention that counts. So again, it takes a certain amount of willpower, yet none of these tools are necessary. Similar to different forms of manifestation, different schools of thought on magic and manifestation that are varied. There are different methods to doing this, but no instruments ultimately are needed. It all comes down to the character and willpower of the individual performing the practice. Now, if this is done honorably, correctly, approaching the being knowingly with the correct protocol, the likelihood of things going wrong is less. But still, there are certain entities that are known to be malevolent. And then, therefore, asking for them by name is a dangerous, risky practice. It's like knocking on the door of a mobster, a mafia boss.
Or loan shark, asking them to loan you energy so that you could get stuff done, and then they want it back. Just so that we're clear, I mentioned a bunch of names there: McGregor Mathers, Alistair Crowley, Martinez Pasquales, Jacob Boehm. These are people who were students of the occult.
Yes.
If you are a student of the occult, you are going to do conjuring specifically for the practice of your skill, your willpower. They weren't doing it because they wanted like $20 million. Okay, they were doing it because they were students of the occult, and this is their practice. So guys, be very, very careful when it is that you're going. What I have done is that I've gotten the images, but what I will not do is give the names so that you guys can run out there and try invoking stuff and then come back and tell me nonsense about like you put these names out there.
Yes, that would be bad karma for us.
And
but
so,
for example, think of somebody that enters the FBI. The first day they enter, they put them through physical training. Then they've got courses to pass. Then they work cases. They gain experience. 10, 15 years down the line, they say, okay, now you go to the head of the mafia. You learn how to deal with individuals like this. So all those practitioners that David mentioned, and correctly mentioned, that they're in this business of building their skill. They don't want anything. They don't need anything from the entity. They just need the mastery of protecting themselves against it and dealing with it. So later on down the line, if they come across similar beings, they know how to handle themselves. So the worst possible way is to conjure an entity for the easy way out. I want $20 million. I want this and this and this. That's not the way it works. You're weak. That mafia boss is going to take one look at you, one sniff from you, and look at you like an easy prey. It's going to be very harmful.
And so a lot of people don't know what their authority is in the spirit world, and fear is the enemy. It really is. And so I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I will give you the images that these practitioners have given us. I have taken the precaution of removing the names of these beings, but this is what they have conjured and seen, and they've been proven because more than one person has seen it. These beings manifest themselves in this image. So as I share my screen once again, and so this and these are the kinds of images that have come to people who are practicing left-hand path conjuring. I'm just going to go backwards through it again. And so if you want to deal with these beings, absolutely have at it. But I would suggest not. And just a word of caution for those of you who are master practitioners, giving this information out and putting it out there on the net, please stop it. Stop putting spells and rituals and occult practices of conjuring out there on the net. It is a bad practice. You will absolutely incur karma. Okay? It's akin to giving 5-year-olds guns. And you don't necessarily want to do that. And you know they're going to use it. Okay. So that is what I have to say with regard to demonic possession and conjuring. Oh, we need to just say a little bit about demonic possession. For those of you who believe that demonic possession is like something that happens randomly, these are the things that happen in demonic possession. The individual, there's certain requirements. The individual's willpower has to be broken down to such a degree that they cannot resist anymore. And so if an individual is in despair or depressed and an entity wants to necessarily overtake them, it's quite easy. It's like walking through an open door. Okay. So do you blame the entity? It is not the natural human condition to be ridden like a horse, which makes me think about horseback riding completely differently now that I think about it. It is not the natural human condition to be ridden like a horse. You were given willpower and a higher faculty for a reason. You absolutely have to use it, right? And if willpower is like a muscle, you don't use it, it atrophies and you lose it. Go ahead, Amir.
David, something interesting that you just said. It is not the natural human condition to be ridden like a horse.
Mm-hmm.
May I respectfully present this idea? That is not the natural condition for a horse to be ridden. For the horse to be ridden, it must be broken.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And then for the human to be ridden, the human must be broken. So if you're of good health of spirit, mind, body, you're immune. You just give that demon one kick and send it flying. Same as the horse kicking a human.
Yes.
It will not be saddled.
I said earlier, people don't know their authority in the spirit world. Nothing can enter you. There is nothing to fear except fear itself, literally and figuratively. Because you guys have heard of ghosts, you guys have heard of demons, you've seen the horror movies and so on. Most of them are full of shit, but some of them actually get it correctly. So if you guys want movies references that you could go to which give you accurate depiction of what's happened in The Exorcist, a lot of research was done on that. The Omen, these are the only two horror movies, so to speak, that actually have done their research and are depicting what actually happens correctly. So you guys can go watch that if you want to. But as you can see, it's some pretty scary stuff. There are some things that are notable when somebody's demonically possessed. They turn to self-harm. And why do you think that is? Based on what Amir and I were discussing, it's because they're breaking you down bit by bit. A normal, healthy body that is free from pain is not a body that you can infest. A normal, healthy human, even at the lowest grade human, you don't even have to be bright. As long as you have the willpower, demons don't. I don't know why people are afraid of that. Like, you should be able to walk into any graveyard,
yes,
at any point in time, with the authority that you are a human being. So there should be no actual fear. Exactly. But people don't get that.
So that's an interesting point that has just been raised. That there are conditions where people fall into that make them vulnerable, like having your automobile unlocked with the keys in the ignition. And then an opportunistic being comes and sees this vehicle, says, okay, let's go for a joyride. Why not? Turning up the music, driving it like they've stolen it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good analogy. So immunity from any kind of interference, whether it's from a demon, from a person projecting on you, from any type of, let's say, ritual, magic, black magic. If you're healthy, if you know yourself, if you're sovereign, if you're of good spiritual cleanliness and practice, you're immune. You don't even need any protection. Your protection is your default. Be at your default state, eat good, sleep good, have a good mood, do good exercise, be a decent human being. None of this stuff, you're just quite literally out of reach. But once you go down into despair, depression, hopelessness, then you go into murky waters that are infested with these kinds of beings. You're easy prey. You're in their domain now.
And I want to make a couple of points here for the Christians that are watching this and for the Hindus as well that are watching this broadcast. Now, we're talking about demonic possession. Some of you let things ride you. The Pentecostal churches where people get caught up in the spirit, fall to the ground and writhe around. You are deliberately going to that service to let things ride you. And you are hoping that because it's a Christian church, everything that rides you is benevolent. Come to hell on. Okay? You guys have seen it. People communing with beings, talking in tongues and so on. Okay? Guys, if you are part of one of these churches, please stop it. Please, please stop it. You don't go to these churches and all of a sudden you get caught up in the spirit. People are beating tambourines and you fall to the ground and they cover you with a sheet and stuff like that. That is a demonic practice. That is not a practice. That is a right-hand practice. That is definitely left-hand practitioners. And the reason why I say that is because I have family who are Kele, what y'all call voodoo. So if you've never been to a voodoo ceremony, I would suggest that you guys go. Because that's exactly what happens.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That is exactly what happens. But they actually are in communion with the beings that are riding them. So it's like a you want a little ride or my little pony? This is exactly what happens. And you guys go to Christian churches and the same thing happens. That is no different from the voodoo ceremony. The purpose is conjuring.
But yet, David, the voodoo priest or priestess that allows their vessel to be host to an entity knows what they're doing.
Yes.
They know the entity, and there are unspoken words of, let's say, an honor agreement that no harm will become that body. But somebody in some random church opening themselves up, there are no such contracts and agreements.
They think that they've been caught up in the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit.
There's no guarantee that no harm will be done. So that's a big difference, you know. So the left-hand path practitioners are doing the same thing, yet with the knowledge, with the skills, with the tradition that goes hundreds of thousands of years back. They know what they're doing. And then it's sometimes beneficial, isn't it, David? They allow people to commune with relatives that have passed.
I have seen people get healed from illnesses during this. And I've also seen an exorcism. If you think that there's a difference between insanity and demonic possession, there is. Just so that we're clear. Okay? An insane person, you can diagnose or whatever else. Somebody who's demonically possessed presents things that you would not normally look. There is a big difference. You knowing the difference has nothing to do with any psychological diagnosis that you could make. Believe me, when somebody's demonically possessed, you know the difference. Okay? Because in my case, it was that feeling of 1,000 prickles underneath your skin.
You feel
and inhuman strength. The woman was in a church in an island that I lived in for many, many years, picked up a church pew, like a bench, and threw it across the church. Okay? So you know the difference. You know the difference. Everything about that person is off. And your senses tell you what the difference is, and it's not fair. Trust me, it's not fair. You feel it. So there is a difference between the two because a lot of people get the two mixed up. Insanity, where you have schizophrenia, where people are acting and talking to beings. And once again, that is a fine line. Once again, I have a little bit of an opinion here because I do believe that the people who become schizophrenics and start talking to entities and so on, they are experiencing a spiritual phenomenon that we are not able to access. It's the same as the dream state. If you believe dreams are portals to different dimensions, then the individual who has gone, inverted commas, insane and is seeing these things, they are very real to him. So why do we label him insane? We might want to label him, how should I say, temporarily enlightened.
Yes.
Okay. I remember Guru Ramdas used to mix spirituality with narcotics. You remember back in the 60s? You remember back in the days when things were good? And people used to like use LSD as a spiritual
Trigger, yeah.
a spiritual trigger. Andrew and I did a show some years ago. A woman called into that show. She came from a particular path where she used to take LSD and drop it into her eyes directly. Into the mucous membranes of her eyes. Yes, she can't turn that off now. She can't turn it off. So honestly, I would have to say in terms of spirituality, don't mix it with narcotics. Don't do conjuring. I'm actually surprised that I actually have to give those warnings to people. Like it's not plastered everywhere. Okay. The next thing I really want to deal with is the left-hand path practitioners as individuals. I mean, I'm going to let you speak on that.
Well, I'd like to use an analogy of the human being is similar to a very advanced computer system, and these entities being a different kind of computer system that are non-corporeal. They can be similar to artificial intelligence. Now, if you open up your operating system to an intrusive AI, it may cause temporary takeover, like you see people hacking banks and institutions, or it could cause permanent damage. So therefore, even if the infiltrating AI is left, the damage is still there, very much so. And then there are, let's say, antivirus AIs that have the ability to wipe clean the infestation and do some major repair on the system. So my experience with Mother Kali is, I think that she is a very powerful antivirus AI, as in she's known to destroy demons in her rage.
Correct.
But in that rage, the person who's infested also goes through a purification that is not a pleasant thing. If you haven't done your due diligence and you have impurities, you burn with the infesting AIs, quote unquote demons.
Why would somebody deliberately invoke Ma Kali? Why would somebody deliberately invoke Durga Ma? Right? Why would somebody deliberately invoke these? Oh, wow. Look, let me explain something to you.
I've got an answer, but please go ahead.
No, I really want to hear this answer. I can't wait for this answer.
Okay, so imagine you're a practitioner that has reached a certain level of mastery and you are ready for the ego death. Because Kali destroys ego and delusion. So you want a powerful cleanse from that which is limiting you. You're ready. Then you call to Ma Kali. Ma Kali, I'm ready. Set me ablaze. And she does. And when you come out, you're purified. It's fire that does not burn. Yet you see the separation of ego from yourself. It's a rather interesting experience. So that would be the benefit of evoking or invoking such a powerful antivirus entity. Run through me, great antivirus. I'm pure. Run through me. Give me the death of ego that will open doors to me. But if you're still impure, if you haven't done your due diligence, the fire is going to catch. It will burn. So if you reached a level that you know you're ready, okay, this is the next step. Let it be. And it takes dedication. You should have no fear. You should be ready for whatever. So that's the only case. Otherwise, you'll be one of the other viruses that's going to be eliminated.
Yeah, I remember we did this episode on the Agori culture.
Yes, 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 yes.
Where they use defilement. And which brings us to our next topic, the practice of the ultimate left-hand path practitioners, the Satanists. For those of you who don't know, the word Satan is actually a verb. Okay, it's not a noun. It's not a guy with horns with a little tail that's pointy and a pitchfork. No, the word Satan means to resist. It's he who resists. Okay, and so I suppose Satanists, a lot of Satanists actually don't know that either, right? Right. So Satan is to resist that which is against. And so, guys, when you're dealing with the Satanists, I think Satanism is a reaction to bullshit. Satanism is a reaction to bullshit. Most of the Satanists came out of the Catholic Church, and high-level members of the Catholic Church started that.
Very true. Yes.
Because they're like, wait. We're doing rituals every day with thousands of people. Okay? To somebody who does not hear us. And you are lying to us. Because there have been a lot of lies. When you find out that your Bible is not complete, as an example, that would piss you off if you're a devout Christian. You assume that your Bible is complete. You assume that all the books in the Bible are there. And then you find out that they're not there. You find out that some guy way back when decided, oh, that's not going in.
Yes, taking it out and throwing it.
So we're just going to take it out because it doesn't suit our purpose. And so you get upset. You get upset and you're like, you know what? Let's try the ritual a different way. Okay? And you develop the fuck off everything mentality. And then you decide that you're getting angry. The anger gives you a kind of willpower and motivation that you did not have doing boring rituals. Because the people who got angry were the people who made vows of celibacy to follow a particular path. Now, can you imagine giving up sex for like 20 years and then turning around and finding out the people that recruited you lied to you?
I'd be pissed off. Losing my youth, coming out, seeing I'm at a middle age or an old age, and I've given up sex, the most natural activity in human life, reproduction, right?
And you find out that these people have been lying to you and using you for their benefit. You're gonna get angry. So when it is that I meet Satanists, part of my heart goes out to them because there's a lot of angry people there. Okay. Yes. And a lot of healing has to be done. But in that time that the healing has to be done, they have developed a kind of motivation and a willpower that a million light workers do not have.
That there is a certain, let's say, attraction. It is very alluring.
Correct.
Being part of the La Resistance, yes, the adversarial movement. But yet, having dealt with many of these people, I think the demographic is very similar to the right-hand path, the light worker community. Mm-hmm. That most of them are in it just for the name because it's a cool social club.
Oh, you mean recently? Yeah, recently that's been a thing. Everybody wants to be a Satanist, right?
Whatever, and the majority, I mean, probably 99% read nothing. I mean, the basic book is the Satanic Bible. It's not even 300-400 pages. They haven't read it. They don't know what they're doing. They've never done a ritual in their life. They just enjoy being sinister and being assholes, which doesn't really, I'm being honest here, but biting each other up in these little chat rooms and having their little social groups. And then there's among the one remaining percent, probably 0.1% who are in it for the wisdom, for the true power, because again, they're dealing with entities that are able, so they know how to safeguard themselves before they gain. There are many methods, there are many secret teachings that they learn. And then there are others that just stick to conjuring entities for the purpose of getting somebody money or getting them a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Full stop. That's the extent of the left-hand path. Many people don't go all the way. So
Just so that that's a good point. Go ahead.
So we're left with 0.1%, 1 in 1,000, that is the real deal. That when you sit down and speak with them, they actually make sense. They've been there and done that. You talk about such and such entity, they know the entity intimately. You talk about certain methods, they know exactly what's going on. You talk, and the funny thing is now, I've mentioned this to David, among those masters of the left and the masters on the right, they agree on probably 95% of the stuff. They all make sense. Now you may think, okay, what's the difference then? And my experience, my humble experience, is in the application of violence. When is it justified? In the left-hand path, your duty is to destroy your enemy. Not mess with your enemy, not tickle your enemy, fucking destroy them, okay? And then on the right-hand path, like powerful master shamans, like gurus, like saints in every religion, they go on the path of transmutation, turning that negative around on its head, enlightenment. Funny enough, destruction through enlightenment is one of the left-hand path methods. So again, one of those commonalities. So it's really a philosophical difference. So it doesn't matter if you've got crystals around your neck, rainbows and feathers and everything, or you've got a big inverted pentagram and you've got spikes and stuff. If you don't know what you're doing, you're an idiot. You're going to damage yourself.
There's so much to unpack in what you just said. First of all, I would like to deal with the people who are mercenaries for hire, who are getting people boyfriends and money. Getting somebody a boyfriend, assuming that that person came to you and said, I want Jack, is a left-hand path practice. Yeah. It ain't a light worker practice, huh?
Yeah, agreed.
So the light workers who are doing this, oh, sprinkle some love dust on him, right? Or like recite this stuff. That is a left-hand path practice. It is what we call binding. Binding free entities is actually a left-hand path practice. Just so that we're clear. Okay. Invoking angels to deal with people that are your enemies is definitely a left-hand path practice. I don't care how Christian you are. You're asking, oh, you know, my boss is a bit of an asshole. Let me just go contract Archangel Michael to deal with his case, right? That's a left-hand path practice because you know what angels are about, right? They're full-on killers. All right, all of them. It doesn't matter whether they're in heaven or whether you call them demons in hell. And the video we showed you said the word demon did not refer to bad angels. It just referred to a spiritual entity. That's what the word means. Yeah. So invoking any entity to deal with people and not using your skills of conflict resolution. I can't stop laughing at this, right? Your skills of conflict resolution, first of all, would be exactly what we call bad practice, right? Or left-hand path practice. Just a lot of you fool yourselves, okay? And so there are a lot of people who are light workers who do rituals. I want to be better than my competitors. Left-hand path practice. You're trying to call on forces to make your business grow against your competitors, with your competitors in mind. Left-hand path practice. Guys, listen to me. When it is that you are going to be utilizing these intents and cross intents and so on, and then you want to label people as left-hand path practitioners, please understand that half of what you guys do, you even accidentally, right, is left-hand path practitioners. You want a client comes to you, that client can't shut up. I wish he would shut up. Left-hand path practice. You see where I'm going with this. So all these labels that you guys have between left hand, right hand, black magic, white magic, like I never heard anything called white magic. But anyway, right, you have to take into consideration that you might not be as light working as you know. A left hand path practitioner, however, will know when they're doing something from the left hand path. And a left hand path practitioner will actually do things to heal people as well. We've made that point before.
The compassion ritual, absolutely. So the beginning of our conversation today, we spoke about this, that those boundaries are not really clear cut. It's not a 0 or 1. And then really, when you boil down and purify everything to its essence, you see that essentially most of these are the same techniques used by different people, different cultures, and different times, and therefore they take different forms. Like different human beings have different languages, different cultures, depending on what part of the earth they're living on. We're all human. We can be good or bad. The hammer is the same hammer. You can smash somebody's head in, or you can hit a nail and build somebody a house. So very much the intention comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So you get some mighty elated guru that elevates, but treats their students badly, left-hand path. And
Right.
you may have somebody who's the ultimate Luciferian with legions of demons bowing down in reverence, and yet they never harm a living being or never overstep somebody's free will. They're there through righteousness. Who's better? It's difficult. We cannot judge. But please keep in mind, these boundaries are not, they're not valid. They're...
Mm-hmm. No, I have 2 points to make here on what you just said. First of all, I want to take up the point where you said that Satanism and left-hand path practitioners have become a social club. Absolutely. Yes. Right. Yes. And it's usually among the young and the angry because they're taking on the anger from whatever else. So they like wearing the t-shirts with the spikes. People mistake witches for Satanism because they both like black. Listen, a lot of practitioners wear black because black negates negative energy. It's a canceling color. Okay.
I like to think of it, David, that black is the color that absorbs the most light.
Correct. Easy, easy peasy. Thank you. All right. That's why a lot of practitioners wear black. Okay, just so that we're clear. There's nothing cool about wearing black apart from the function. Apart from the function of what it's supposed to represent and do, right, in physics, guys. So that's the first thing. So it's become this social club and they have the symbols and the stuff, and a lot of them don't know what the hell a symbol means. And I'm looking at these people and I'm like, somebody's supposed to be frightened of you.
What's that?
Like seriously, like we're supposed to be like bowing. A lot of them do that because they have no personal power and they want to demonstrate to people that they have personal power. Listen, people with personal power don't shout it to the nines, okay? Empty vessels always make the most noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I want to say is, for those of you who are fronting with the left-hand path thing, you run 2 risks, sir. Okay? You run the risk of pissing off somebody who is really a left-hand path practitioner. And then you run the risk of accidentally doing something correctly one of these days.
Yes.
And finding yourself in a world of hurt.
I completely agree, David. You see, a lot of practices in the right-hand path are designed to be gentle, are designed to, they're like a ladder. You step by step climb the ladder of ascension, gain mastery, wisdom, knowledge, and experience. You develop yourself, get rid of a lot of rubbish that is not good for you. The right-hand path, on the other hand, is aggressive. It does the same job in a fraction of the time, and it is not pleasant. So people that dabble in such things without sufficient knowledge and preparation preparation, preparation, preparation. If you're going to run a marathon, it takes months, maybe years to prepare your body, condition it for that kind of an event. You can't just run into a marathon. After 2 miles, you're going to collapse. And yet imagine that you are forced to complete the marathon. How awful would that be? So dabbling in the left-hand path is much more dangerous than practicing some right-hand path ritual, doing hatha yoga. Nobody's ever died of trying to do hatha yoga. Worst is you fall on your butt, okay, or fall on your face. But in the left-hand path, there's the potential. You open a portal to something that is massively more powerful than you at that point in time, not generally speaking. Oi, 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 you're in trouble. So yeah, that's some distinction to be made.
A lot of covens, a lot of groups have been destroyed, completely destroyed, because they were dabblers.
There we go.
You come to a ritual with impure thoughts. You come to a ritual with weaknesses and so on, and you're going to get yourself destroyed. You are like let's assuming that you got that ritual done properly to the nines. This social club phenomenon is affecting the entire spiritual community. Everybody wants to look cool.
Yeah. Or say, I'm a member of this and this. I am mighty. I am knowledgeable. My vibration is high. I can do shit you can't. Highly doubtable, but they would like to be able to say that. I've seldom come across somebody who could actually perform true manifestation, or for that matter, know the true meaning of what manifestation is. David, you'll agree with me here.
Yeah. As I said in a broadcast, people are a dime a dozen. Everybody's a practitioner. Everybody's a practitioner, and that's it. But the level of focus that it takes to manifest things,
yes,
is truly difficult. Okay. And it requires you to see the world from a wider perspective, which a lot of them don't. And a lot of them, once again, do not start with the basics, like whether you're on the right hand or the left hand path. They don't start with the basics, right? The basics like focus, like integrity, very big thing. Integrity, stuff like honesty, good manners, and these kinds of things. They leave that behind. They want to jump in, and so some little teenage punk is going to put on a Satanist shirt and decides, I'm practicing, I'm doing rituals. I see a lot of little kids running up into esoteric stores, right, with their black outfits, and they're buying candles, and they're buying black candles, and they say they're doing their rituals and so on. And I'm like, kid, we're going to be reading about you in the paper. We're going to be reading about you in the paper. And a lot of the people who own these stores are very inconsiderate.
Yes.
They will sell them whatever they need, right? They will sell them whatever they need. It's just a money-making venture for them, right? And some of these people know better, and some of them don't, okay? I want to shout out to a responsible store owner. Her name is Donna Kruger. She is in Regina. Donna, I want to shout you out because I've sat in the store and I've seen her counsel people. But a lot of people have esoteric shops and they just sell whatever to anybody that comes in there. Like Ouija boards, for instance. Oh my God. If you're going to use an Ouija board, please have at least 5 or 10 years experience in meditation, in practice, before you decide that you're going to go use it.
You know, David, you mentioned something very important, which is integrity. So somebody who has no integrity, just because they go and become a Reiki master, that does not give them integrity. It just gives them the ability to abuse the gift that's been bestowed upon them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is universal, left or right, across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people with low integrity, they ultimately hurt themselves. That's guaranteed. But along the way, they cause harm to countless other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there should be some sort of a initiatory process to make sure that these so somebody is used to stealing. They're used to hurting people with their words. They're used to causing all kinds of havoc. Such a person should not be empowered with certain gifts.
We had that discussion. There should be barriers to entry.
Yes.
Right? Not just because you have the money, you should be able to just pick up any skill set that you want. There should be barriers to entry in the spiritual community. But then a lot of these groups use people like batteries anyway. It's just a battery to them. Okay.
You know, David, it reminds me, I had the opportunity to visit Japan probably 20 years back.
Mm-hmm.
So in Hokkaido, there was this tiny little shop that sold samurai swords, the genuine article. And I went in mesmerized with the beauty of each. And I asked the guy, can I hold one? And he immediately said, no, fuck off. As in, you don't have the honor to hold such an item, never mind the skill to wield it.
And you have to respect that.
There you go. I respect it. I was very upset at the time. I was a teenager, right? But now I get, okay, that is respect for the craft. That is respect for the item, respect for the mastery, respect full stop. Now that kind of integrity is absent. Many places that do teach some sort of esoteric knowledge. There is no process. You see, they bring in complete degenerates that end up harming themselves and harming people. And that is a big, big problem in our community. So the esteemed audience listening to us, ladies and gentlemen, please be aware of the repercussions of arming a shit-faced drunk person with a katana.
Correct.
They're going to cut down 50 people and not remember it when they wake up in the morning.
Correct.
That karma is on you. Please have discernment. It is up to you that is going to train the next generation. Who do you bestow this honor? Because carrying this wisdom is an honor. And it's not an easy task. Please be very careful.
Yes, I would have to agree with you at 100% there, Amir. I think that a lot of people come into spirituality for the wrong reasons. They're angry, a lot of them. A lot of them run to spirituality because they want to escape. So
Yes.
It's kind of very difficult to discern who are true seekers of light, because people are seeking everything else but light nowadays. Because you see the whole light thing, you should be humble and you should start with the manners and the good discipline and all of those things. But we don't see that. That is becoming less and less. We have people that are aberrant, right? And I sometimes sit there and I wonder, like, how did these people become teachers? How did they become coaches? How did they become in charge of people's well-being and welfare? Okay, but they had the money and they paid their money and then they were given titles and they use their titles and they toxify everybody they run into. And we've said this several times on this show.
Yes.
And so what I want to say with regard to all of this stuff is that there's an end to this kind of stuff. There is an end after all, right? But I do know that people aren't speaking up, and the community has become a bit of a big blur, okay? But I do know that there are people out there that are still doing good work. They're with good intention, and they have stuff like good character, good manners on board. If you approach them, they will talk to you in a polite manner, okay? And so I don't know what to say with regard to left-hand path practitioners that we haven't already said. It has been my experience, and I want to make this general point, and then I'll give the last word to Amir, that left-hand path practitioners, in terms of the demographics, because of the motivation that got them there, they are very dedicated, okay? Because if I am, here's the thing, a lot of people who go onto the right-hand path, a lot of them either drop out after a few years. Sometimes it doesn't take years, sometimes it takes months. And there's some people that are in there for the long haul. Like, Amir, I know you're going to be doing this 20 years from now. You know I'm going to be doing this 20 years from now. We're going to be practicing 20 years from now. There's nothing that is
20 lifetime. Absolutely. We're in this because it's part of our light. It's not the first lifetime we're at this. Won't be the last. Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people who are on the left-hand path, their anger shows them something else. And it's so sad that the negative motivators bring people to the left-hand path and they stick with it, huh? A lot of them do, in demographics wise. Yes, they're the people who turn this thing into a social club. But when people have been in the depths of despair, and you know what I'm talking about, Amir, and
Yes.
they come onto the left-hand path, it's something that becomes part of them, yeah? And we can't necessarily say that necessarily for the right-hand path. And here's the thing, just because you're angry doesn't mean that you're angry at the world. So stop thinking of left-hand path practitioners as these guys who wear black and want to kill everybody. Some of them might be your neighbor that you leave your kids with to babysit. Scary thought, but that's for real. Some of them might be your neighbor that you leave your kids with to babysit. They may be left-hand path practitioners and they know that, but they're never going to harm your kid.
Absolutely. And again comes integrity. So let's think of the example of a left-hand path master goes into some zone, geographic zone on the planet Earth, collects all the demons, heals their injuries, because yes, they get into fights. Sometimes they come with horrific injuries, heals them, and creates a nursery, a daddy daycare for them. Keeps them all entertained and happy and prevents them from causing havoc, destroying themselves and others. And then there could be a right-hand path guru that creates students that are arrogant with no integrity, that care only for material gain, fame, wealth, status. And those students go out, disperse in the world and harm countless others. So this is just an imaginary example, but it demonstrates my point that not all on the left-hand path are quote-unquote evil, not all on the right-hand path are quote-unquote good or holy. Please reserve judgment. Whatever path you choose, trust the voice, the wisdom within. What is right for you at each incarnation, at each point in your life, may differ from others. Trust the wisdom within to guide you to the correct path. Have integrity. Integrity. When you do something wrong, you know it's wrong. You don't need any rules or methods or doctrine to tell you. The voice within will tell you. Trust that, and you are the mightiest being. There is no higher authority than you, unless you intentionally allow yourself to be compromised, which can lead to possession or corruption. So please safeguard that which is most valuable, that light which is in you. No matter what path you take, you're going to end up at the correct place because that light is shining, illuminating the path in front of you. So yes, integrity, dedication, righteousness, kindness, manners, cleanliness. I mean, both sides agree on these things. Enjoying the beauty of nature.
Exactly.
You know, so please consider these things, my dear friends, esteemed audience.
Exactly. And if there's anything you guys want to take away from the show, is that you should not judge.
Yeah.
Definitely don't judge. Okay. That left-hand path practitioner might be your savior one of these days. So guys, that's it for our show today. Please leave your comments down below in the comment section and let us know what you think about our show today, whether you agree or disagree. We will look at the comments and we will answer you. Amir, really, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your company. Take care, guys.